Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to EB Yoga. Today I want to talk about the 3 most common excuses I hear about why people think that yoga isn't for them, think they can't do it, and basically why they've never even tried. Excuse number 1, I'm not flexible enough. Let me start by saying that flexibility is something that I think is really misunderstood in the yoga world. Most often what we're talking about is actually hypermobility. I'm going to post a link to my video, What the Heck is Hypermobile, that goes into a lot more detail about that. I'll try to keep this short and sweet. Basically, hypermobility is the ability of your joints to go past what is the safe, normal, average, functional range of motion. So it's not actually your muscles that are really loose and letting you get into these poses, but it's actually your joints. Let's take a look at downward dog for a quick example. 2 very common downward dog instructions will be to drop your head between your arms and to push your heels toward the ground. So without going into the downward dog pose, my question is, can you do those 2 things without being in the pose? So first of all, can you take your arms and can you raise them up alongside of your ears without doing a big back bend or anything like this? Try to keep your spine neutral like it would be in downward dog and just bring your arms up. Most people's arms don't go straight up by their ears. Most people's arms go about here by their cheeks. So when they're in downward dog, that's where their arms would be, by their cheeks. And then the teacher would keep saying, drop your head, get your ears by your arms. But if your shoulder joint doesn't let you do that, it just doesn't let you do that. We're often asking for a greater range of motion in these poses than what people have. Then let's take a look at our ankle in downward dog, because you'll hear yoga teachers say things like, push your heels down, lengthen out your hamstrings, let your hamstrings let go. Your hamstrings will have an effect on your downward dog, but your ankle joint is going to be the biggest factor here. So can you squat down and keep your feet flat on the ground? Can you see this angle I have here with my foot flat? Can you see that it's the same angle in downward dog? If I want to get my heels flat on the ground, I need that flexibility in my ankle. So I have seen yoga students who can't get their heels down. When they try to squat down, their ankle joint won't crease that much. They have to be up like this. So your ankle's going to have to be like that in downward dog too, and your heels aren't going to touch the ground. And it doesn't matter how flexible your hamstrings are. I cannot think of a single yoga pose where range of motion is not a factor. I've been studying this range of motion within yoga since 2017 with my teacher, Alexandria Crow, and I use this information to impact my yoga classes. Like I always say, I don't teach pretzel poses, because really, what's the point? Excuse number 2, I'm not skinny enough. I get it. Like, all the pictures on social media make you think you need to have a twig body, because how else are you supposed to like bend and twist and get into these like pretzel poses and balance on your hands? And like, I hope you'll hear me when I say that what you weigh doesn't matter. My weight has been up and down my entire life, and I have been doing yoga for 20 years. I did yoga for 10 years at home with just VHS and DVDs because I was too embarrassed to try to go to a yoga studio. And then the first time I did go to a yoga studio was during one of my heavier periods, and he did have us doing crow pose, balancing on our hands, and it was embarrassing. And I'm like, yeah, this is why I've been doing yoga at home. Yes, obviously there are poses that will be easier when your body is smaller and lighter. Like I just mentioned, crow pose, all your weight on your 2 hands and your butt up in the air. Like all that weight going into that wrist joint, obviously that's going to be different if it's an extra 30 or 50 pounds. But here's the thing, your wrists were not designed to carry all that weight anyway. Most people's wrist only goes at an angle of about 70 degrees. Most people don't get a flat 90 degrees with the wrist without using gravity. So why are we doing that pose? Of course, I enjoy the physical benefits that I get from my physical yoga practice, but it is the mental benefits that has kept me with yoga for over 20 years. Learning to meditate and learning different breathing practices, and then learning to take those things off of the yoga mat and into life so that you spend more time choosing how you want to respond to things that happen in life rather than just automatically reacting, which is kind of human nature. As a yoga teacher, I teach a variety of classes because I want to have something for everybody. My favorite class style to teach is effort and ease, which may mean something different if you've taken it at a different yoga studio. But here at EB Yoga, effort and ease is doing poses in a variety of ways so that you can decide which pose feels best for your body that day. You might need something more challenging, or you might have an injury you're dealing with. So let's take a look at tabletop. I'll show you what I mean. So here's a traditional tabletop on hands and knees. If you have any sensitivity in wrists or knees, you can always put a blanket under there. But for some people, that might not be enough. So what if we took this tabletop and flipped it over onto our backs? So now here I am in tabletop on my back. Now this pose is going to require an entirely different set of muscles to hold your arms and your legs up like this. But you've taken all of that pressure off of the wrist and the knee joints. So this could possibly be an option for somebody. Maybe you find this too easy. Maybe you want a more challenging tabletop. Let's lift it up. So I've lifted myself up onto some yoga props, which makes the balance of my tabletop more challenging. I feel my core working some more. But again, still no weight on the wrists and the knees, but more challenge. So one of my favorite things to do is take a pose and figure out how to do it in a bunch of different ways so that hopefully you can find a variation that works for you. I guess the bottom line for me on the yoga and weight issue is that as someone who has struggled with my weight for most of my life, I know how I've let my weight hold me back from doing things or going after things, just held me back from life in general. I mentioned earlier, my weight held me back from going to a yoga studio for 10 years. And it held me back from going to yoga teacher training for a number of years until I finally was like, F this. My struggles with my weight are a big part of the reason that I created my online yoga studio, because I know that those 10 years I spent at home doing DVDs and stuff, if I would have had a teacher that I could ask questions to online and do their videos whenever I wanted to and had time, like that's what I needed, So hopefully what I'm doing is what somebody out there needs. We shouldn't let our weight hold us back in any area of our life. But to me, yoga is spiritual and physical and, a mental, emotional thing. So it's like, I think it can benefit everybody. And I hate for you to miss out on that because of your weight. And if you'd like to hear some more thoughts I have on weight and dieting and all that fun stuff, I'll post a link to my I'm Done Dieting video series. Finally, yoga excuse number 3. You don't have the right yoga stuff. You need yoga clothes and a yoga mat. You hear about all these other yoga props that you should have if you want to be a serious yoga person, I'll talk about all my yoga props here in just a minute, but first let's talk about yoga clothes. I mentioned I've been doing yoga for about 20 years. 20 years ago, I do not remember hearing the term yoga pants. So my definition of yoga clothes is clothes that it's comfortable for you to do yoga in. I say if someone in a yoga studio is judging you based on the type of clothes you're wearing, they're missing a couple of the major points of yoga of non-judgment and acceptance and things like that. I've personally never spent money on a pair of Lululemon leggings, which there's nothing wrong with spending however much money you want to spend on whatever brand of clothing or yoga clothing you want to spend it on. That's just me, and I think that's up to everybody. That being said, as a woman, I know that sometimes shopping motivates me. More times than I would like to admit, I've bought myself a new workout outfit, a new yoga outfit, a new pair of tennis shoes, like whatever I think it's going to be that's going to motivate me to start Monday. 9 times out of 10, that motivation didn't last more than a week or so. But if you are one of those people that gets super motivated by a new sports bra or a new pair of shoes, then please shop your heart out. Moving on to yoga props. Obviously, I love yoga props. Before you go spend a bunch of money on yoga props, check out my Giving Props to the Props yoga video where I talk about which props I think are nice, which ones are necessary, and which ones you might be able to find something around the house that you could substitute them with. For example, let's say we're doing this runner's lunge in one of my classes and I have you bring your hands down to blocks right here for support. But what if you don't have blocks? Well, do you have a collection of Harry Potter books that are just hanging around somewhere? You could also stack up the books to make a block like that if we were doing a twist. If you want to make one investment in your yoga practice, I would suggest to invest in a good mat. About 6 years ago, I bought my first Jade brand yoga mat, and I don't think I'll ever go to another brand. This has a great grip, and it's a very environmentally friendly company. For every mat they sell, they plant a tree, and these mats are made from the natural rubber tree. So those are the top 3 excuses I hear about why people haven't started yoga or don't want to try it. But the other thing I hear is about the cost of it. I have seen classes range anywhere from like $10 to $40 for one single yoga class. I don't want money to be another excuse as to why people can't do yoga. That's why I created my online yoga studio back in 2018, because I wanted to give people first a place where they could feel comfortable, because I'm there, you can ask me questions, you're not just watching videos and then you're clueless if you don't know something. I'm here if you have questions. And second, I wanted people to be able to do yoga on their own time, from their own home, where they're comfortable. I mentioned I spent the first 10 years of my yoga practice at home because I didn't want to go to a studio. And I think going to a studio can be really scary for a lot of people. I mentioned I teach a variety of styles of yoga. There's currently over 100 classes in the class library in my online studio, and there's Yoga 101 and Gentle Flow, Beginner, Vinyasa 1, Vinyasa 2, the Rest, Relax, Restore, Stretch It Out, Yoga for Your Core, Meditation, Pranayama, Effort and Ease, and I think that might be it. And as I mentioned before, no pretzel poses. And within my online yoga studio membership is an online community where you can meet other online yoga members, you can ask me questions, make class requests, and also every week when I post new classes, I comment in there, hey, here's your new class for the week, how's everybody doing? Did I mention my online yoga studio is only $9 a month? I've been rambling, but I don't think I said that. So yes, my online yoga studio is only $9 a month and you get a 7-day free trial. So those are the top 3 yoga excuses that I usually hear. So how about you? Have you tried yoga yet? If not, what's your excuse? Leave a comment below, let me know, and maybe I'll feature your excuse in part 2 of Yoga Excuses Explained. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you back again soon. Be well.